Hi, everybody. Professional Scrum trainers Ryan Ripley and Todd Miller back with another Scrum question. Todd, actually, it's not really a question. We had this exasperated student in a class recently, and while we were talking about the sprint and how it works, and they almost screamed. I mean, I think they were frustrated. My team needs special sprints.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That led to a really interesting class discussion, and we're not going to get into all that today. But Todd, what's up with this? I mean, what's your take on these specialized sprints like Sprint Zero that everybody keeps talking about?
Yeah, let's just start with Sprint Zero because we hear that so much. We hear a lot of companies trying to use Sprint Zero. And first, by definition, let's talk about what Sprint Zero is. Oftentimes, organizations will say, let's do a Sprint Zero so that we can do some analysis. We can have a good product backlog, a perfect product backlog before we start sprinting, have the architecture designed. Boy, does that not sound like a waterfall gate, doesn't it, Ryan?
It sounds like it does.
Yeah. And so the idea behind the Sprint Zero is that we want to figure everything out before we actually start doing the work. To me, that's dangerous, right? We're in the complex domain of work. We don't know what we don't know. If you're using Scrum, you're dealing with complexity. You're trying to cope with complexity. And the best way to cope with that complexity is by doing the work itself, right? And so resist the temptation to do analysis by paralysis and try to start with a perfect product backlog. Complexity in product development is messy. Just let it be messy. Start by doing a sprint and deliver a sliver of business value. And you can reduce risk through delivery, not through analysis, right?
Yeah, I think it's there's this tendency, Todd, especially with new teams where they learn about Scrum and they go back super excited, but then the realities of the organization and the way that the org chart and the architecture and all these things drag them back into waterfall, right? And so our message is really stop sprinting over waterfalls, right? You are changing the way you're working. And by creating these specialized sprints, right? Whether it's Sprint Zero, which is big upfront design and analysis, or design sprints where we're uncomfortable with incomplete information about our interfaces, or test sprints where we're refusing to automate testing and we demand this regression testing sprint because we can't or won't make the investment in testing, or release sprints because we require too many manual steps in order to get a product out the door, instead of reverting back to waterfall practices because we have all of these issues. Solve them, right? As Todd said, get comfortable with some incomplete information and dump Sprint Zero and get to work. Learn by doing, learn through feedback. It's risky to delay starting, right? So stop adding risk to your projects and get moving. With design sprints, we only need a little bit to get started. Testing, automate. Look, technical excellence is mandatory for professional Scrum. We have to it's 2020, right? If you're not automating your test suites, if you're not automating build and deploy systems, what are you doing, right? These manual processes and manual steps, that we do not create new sprints for that. We solve those issues. We have to look those issues directly in the eye because, look, we cannot have sprints that do not deliver business value, right, Todd?
Oh, yeah. Let's hop on that one. Another point here, we have to deliver business value every sprint. And I hear this argument all the time, but we have so much we need to do with our architecture. Well, emergent architecture doesn't happen when you try to do it in a phase. If you save several sprints trying to build your architecture, right, that's not emergent architecture, right? And we've given this promise when we've adopted Scrum, right? And we talk about this all the time. I'm going to use the word trust, Ryan, right? So we're trying to create trust. Our Scrum team is trying to create trust with our customers and trying to create trust with our stakeholders. There is nothing worse in my mind than when you're bringing stakeholders into a sprint review and you pull up Postman to show what a web service returns, right? I have seen it in more sprint reviews. They have no idea what's happening, right? They have no idea what they're seeing. They have no idea what Postman means. Even if it's the ugliest user interface you've ever put together, you need to show something because you need people to have the ability to look at what you've done, right? We're making the work well understood. We're creating transparency for the purpose of inspecting it. And with that, we can adapt the future of our products, right? And if we don't deliver business value every sprint, we are really missing out on an opportunity here. Not only missing out on an opportunity, but we could be increasing risk as well. So deliver business value, even if it's just a tiny sliver every single sprint.
Absolutely. And ultimately, don't hide organizational impediments by creating these new specialized sprints.
Mhm.
You know, if you're running a test sprint because, you know, we did all of our development in this sprint, and the next sprint is our testing sprint, and our next sprint is our hardening sprint. Look, you're delaying the realization of value. You're hiding the fact that your delivery practices need to be updated. Perhaps there's some UAT or user acceptance test requiring, or there's some governance. There's things going on that are slowing us down. Rather than hiding those things, go have the hard conversations about the way you work, right? Go have that hard conversation with your product owner about the need to invest in technical excellence. You know, Scrum Masters, we don't hide organizational impediments, right? We have zero tolerance for organizational impediments. Go out there, tackle the real causes for these specialized sprints, and your teams in the long run will be much better off.
Love it. Yeah.
All right. So there's no such thing as sprint zero, right, everybody? That myth is busted. It doesn't exist. So Todd, I think if that's where we're landing, this video is good. And
Yeah.
so for professional Scrum trainers, Ryan Ripley and Todd Miller, thank you. Thank you for watching this. We hope we've helped. And we will see you all next time as we tackle another one of these Scrum topics. Leave a message in the comments. Let us know which questions you want to see us answer. Hit us on Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever we're at on the interwebs. If you've got a great question for us to answer, we will be more than happy to tackle it. And until next time, Ryan Ripley, Todd Miller, this is Agile for Humans. And yeah.
Signing off.
Can't wait for the next one.